Hello and welcome. I'm so glad that you could join us today for this important conversation on National Minorities Day, reclaiming minority identity in Pakistan. My name is Heman and I work as a Research and Communications Coordinator at South Asia Research Institute for Minorities. As you know, the purpose of our organization is to work for the marginalized communities in South Asia. But believe me that every year on August 11th, Pakistan observes National Minorities Day. On paper, it's meant to be a day of recognition, a reminder of the vision of Qaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, who spoke in 1947 when he said religion, caste, or creed should have nothing to do with your own business of the state. But let's be honest, for many of us from minority communities, August 11th is not just about the celebration. It's a day when we feel the gap between those promises and our reality. And we also remember the speeches, we hear the words equal citizenship, but then we think about the daily challenges, the discrimination, the kind of stereotypes, and the feeling of being treated as less than in our own country. And it really honestly hurts. That's why today's conversation matters. This is about reclaiming our identity, saying we can define ourselves. Not be defined by the prejudices or the politics. It should be pride and dignity. But before we jump into our conversation further, let's set the context a bit. Pakistan is home to about 3.5 percent minority communities, be it Hindus, Christians, or Sikhs in other communities. On paper, we have the constitution protections, reserved seats in the assemblies, and laws that says discrimination is wrong, which is actually a true. But the reality is different. Many of us still face hurdles in education, employment, and social acceptance. Girls from minority communities are at a higher risk of forced conversions, early marriages. On the other hand, caste discrimination still keeps Dalit communities trapped in the low paid exploitative work. Also, the hate speech and stereotypes are far from too common. So, when we talk about reclaiming identity, we are not talking about something abstract. We are talking about children who are bullied in school for their religion, about workers who are unpaid because of their caste, and families who feel unsafe practicing their faith openly. And reclaiming identity means refusing to let those experiences define you. It's about telling our own stories, building our own spaces, and demanding equality is not about the favor, but it's our own right. And to have this conversation, I'm joined by three incredible people from Pakistan who have not only lived through these challenges, but actively are working to change these stereotypes. First up, we are joined by Bhagwani Bai Rathore. She represents the Pakistan Dalit Solidarity Network. Bhagwani work focuses on advocating for the rights and dignity of Dalit communities in Pakistan, challenging caste-based discrimination and creating spaces where marginalized voices can be heard. She has been a part of efforts that bring these issues to national attention, making sure they are not sidelined in conversation about equality and justice. She should not be with us live, but she sent us this powerful message about what reclaiming minority identity means to her and her communities she serves. Let's listen to Bhagwani.
Hi everyone, my name is Bhagwani and I'm from Pakistan Dalit Solidarity Network. First of all, I must congratulate South Asian Research Institute for Minority for organizing this event on National Minority Day and must thank for bringing voices of vulnerable segment of the society on this forum. On this important occasion of commemoration of National Minority Day, I would like to seek your attention toward the challenges of identity, acceptability and inclusivity scheduled caste communities in Pakistan are facing. The issue of identity starts with the counting of these communities. According to the census 2023, almost 4% of population in Pakistan include minority communities. Among the total minority population, 44% are Hindus, 38% are Christians, 15% are scheduled caste, and 3% are other different religious groups. However, this undercounting of scheduled caste communities are challenged at different forums. Even different national and international studies have authenticated that more than 80% of total Hindu populations are scheduled caste or Dalits. And let me share that 90% of Dalit population live in villages and rural areas, and most of them do not have a piece of land to live on. Hence, they either live in filthy places, in makeshift huts, or roam from roam around from one place to another place to find a suitable space for their shelter. Historically, they have been suffering from systematic oppression, discrimination, mental and physical violence, and deprived of their fundamental human rights. I think that their multidimensional position create intersectional oppression. Their caste limit them to least paying and menial jobs, and their religious identity marginalize them to violence and forced conversion. Their geographic location limits their economic opportunities and access to public and private development and welfare services. And additionally, climatic disasters have worsened the vulnerability of these communities. So I think that their caste and religious identity, their geographic location, and poverty make them most vulnerable and disadvantaged communities within minorities in Pakistan. And let me share that majority of the bonded and child laborer in Pakistan are from scheduled caste. In bonded labor, poor workers take advances and pledge their whole family to work for their employers until their loan is paid off. In most cases, they cannot repay the loan and are forced to work on unnegotiable and exploited terms. The family in the bondage is at high risk of worst form of discrimination and violence. And agriculture and bricklands are two significant sectors of bonded labor where these scheduled caste communities are working. And there are many more as well. Scheduled caste or Dalit women face multiple forms of discrimination as a women from suppressed caste and religious minority in highly traditional and patriarchal society. Abduction, forced conversion, forced and early marriages, sexual violence, lack of access to education and health services, limited access to development programs are some of the major issues Dalit women in Pakistan are facing. And women bonded labor face worst form of exploitation, including sexual abuse. They work very hard but never seen cash in their hands because they work with no or little wages. And the situation of Dalit girls are not better. Dalit girls work with their families as a domestic worker to pay off debt of their family and denied to their right to education, survival and development. These girls work at very early age and are at high risk of early marriages, early and forced marriages, abduction, faith conversion and sexual violence. They work in hazardous conditions and rarely go to school and hardly have access to health services and other public and private facilities for their survival and development. Caste-based hierarchical social structures make some communities stand at the bottom within scheduled caste communities and do low-paid and menial jobs, including cleaning. They are poorest of the poor, shelterless and voiceless. Most of the manual scavenging, city cleaning, working with waste and recycling, and gutter cleaning work is assigned to Dalit communities, which include Christians and so-called lower caste Hindus. They work in life-threatening conditions and in return they face hate, humiliation and neglect at every step of life. However, in recent years, there have been assertive actions taken by the government to improve the well-being of these communities, such as registration in national database, counting in census, and provision of social safety nets, such as Benazir Income Support Program. But still, much needs to be done. I have few recommendations that I want to highlight in this forum. Research studies at macro and micro level in collaboration with government, international and national organizations and academia are needed to assess the situation of Dalit communities in Pakistan. There are legislation to ensure the rights of Pakistani citizens, but they need to be strengthened to include caste as one of the main factors in prevalence of discrimination and violence in Pakistan. For economic upliftment of Dalit, there is a need of sufficient budget allocation for income support, skill enhancement, and employment generation programs for poor and excluded groups, including Dalits. Free education and scholarship programs for higher studies of Dalit children need to be provided. Training programs for law enforcement authorities on caste issues to strengthen enforcement and minority mechanism need to be provided. And let me share that at present there are around 34 or so reserved seats in legislative fora in Pakistan for non-Muslim. The representation from scheduled caste is negligible, so their participation and representation in political fora need to be ensured. So these are the few recommendations that I want to give to the authorities.
I mean, definitely a powerful message from Bhagwani Bai. Moving to our next guest, Pastor Sharjeel Shafqat. Now, if you know the Sharjeel, you know he is not someone who just talks about the justice, he lives it. He has a master's of divinity from the International Graduate School of Leadership in the Philippines. Sharjeel, you have been working at the intersection of faith, advocacy, and social justice. When you think about reclaiming identity, what comes to your mind first? Or maybe you can share a moment from your work where you saw that happen in a powerful way. Over to you.
Thank you, brother. I really appreciate this opportunity, and I'm grateful for SARIM for creating this webinar and to highlight the voiceless people, to give them voice. And I begin my heartfelt sharing by honoring host, respected speakers, and all the joining people who online. And good day, and thank you again for this great opportunity. On this National Minority Days webinar, we gather not just to remember, but to honor the pain, the perseverance, the power of the minority communities in Pakistan. Today invites us to reflect deeply on our collective responsibility to pursue a nation where dignity, equality, and justice are not selective but universal. We have been able to realize or feel the burden of being marginalized. Pakistan was envisioned as the place where all citizens, regardless of religion, caste, or ethnicity, could live freely with dignity. But sadly, this dream remains unfulfilled for many minority groups. The continuity reality of discrimination, forced conversation, as we have heard from our sister already, inclusion and violence heavily weighs on our generations. The pain of being seen as less than is not only political, it is deeply personal as well. And the Bible reminds us, if one remembers suffer, all suffer together. Until every citizen is treated equally, respectfully, then the nation will become one nation. Otherwise, we all are individuals. But the minority resists, and we have the strength to resist. Yet, in the difficult reality, we have seen something profound resilience. Pakistan minority communities have not only survived, but they have resisted. They have built schools, run hospitals, contributed to science, art, faith, and public life. They have raised their voice in courts, classrooms, and communities. Their struggle is not just for their own future, it is for better, more efficient Pakistan. And the Bible says that through outwardly we are wasting away, yet inwardly we are being renewed day by day. This is the spirit of our community, not defeating by hardship, but renewed through hope and faith. What we can do, or what suggestions, and I will call it for justice. Too often, conversations about minorities are framed through charity or symbolic inclusion, but charity is not the substitute for justice. We must move beyond the language of mere tolerance. Tolerance implies unequal power. What we need is equal citizenship, where minorities are not just accepted, but valued, protected, and empowered. And Bible says that he has shown you, O mortal, what is good and what does the Lord require of you to act justly and to love mercy and to walk humble with your God. This verse is a divine call not just to kindness, but to justice, not just to compassion, but to accountability. The road we can look at for our future and for our betterment, for a better Pakistan, is truth, education, and solidarity. Where do we go from here? We need education that includes minority voice and tells the full truth of our history. We need laws that do more than exist on paper. They must protect and uplift. We need media that reflects our diversity and doesn't silence the marginalized. And we need dialogue, genuine, brave dialogue that builds bridges instead of walls. But most of all, we need solidarity. The majority must walk with the minority, not ahead, not above, not over sides, but alongside. True building can only happen through partnership. Let let's today be more than a communicator, but be a commitment. Share your commitment. A commitment to move more silence to truth, more tokenism to transformation. Let's reclaim the idea of Pakistan as home where no one is second-class citizen. God does not, Bible says God does not show favoritism, and I really like it, but accepts from every nation the one who fears him and does what is right. May we reflect that same divine impartiality in our laws, in our hearts, and in our society. May God bless our efforts. May justice roll down like waters in the land we all can hope. And I would finally say this one thing. I do uh, experience uh, discrimination and all those things. But you know one thing, whenever we go through that, it strengthens me, it gives me more power, and it helps me to have more compassion to those who are marginalized. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sharjeel, for highlighting this. Moving forward to our third speaker, guest today is Sono Khangrani. He's a proud Dalit development professional with over 30 years of experience in development and microfinance. Mr. Sonu has spent his career breaking the silence around caste-based discrimination. And if you have ever doubted whether economic empowerment changes lives, you need to hear his stories because he has not seen women go from being voiceless in their villages to becoming leaders in their communities. Mr. Sonu, welcome, and we are excited to hear your perspective on reclaiming identity on this Minority Day. Over to you.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Heman, for inviting me to join this webinar, which is so timely and which is so pertinent to the topic of the National Day Minority has. I would really suggest and speak about the historical context. You know, the Minority Day in Pakistan is blending historical context, recognition of contribution, and forward-looking message. It's not a stagnant message. I think we have to look forward for the betterment. Historically, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, in his speech of August 11, mentioned about equity, and all sort of rights available to everyone who lives in Pakistan. He never discriminated. He never segregated any segment of the society or religious minorities or ethnicities groups. I think we have to reflect on Pakistan's constitutional and moral commitment, which Muhammad Ali Jinnah, our Qaeda-Azam, made. So I think that is more important to promote right of the religious minorities in a very meaningful manner, so that they are felt, they are seen, and they are, propagated in a right manner. I think which is one of the major things that we have to look forward and look forward happening very soon, I hope. See, minorities in Pakistan, if you go back to the history, have really very crucial and pivotal role which they have played in the past. And I would say those sectors, be it education, health, armed forces, judiciary, business, sports, social activities, I think if you name or pick up, the history will pick up them. They have shown their passion, they have shown their contribution, they have shown their attachment to the country, they have shown the attachment with the people they belong to. And icons such as Justice A.R. Karnwalas, Dr. Ruth Pau, Joginder Nath Mandal, Cecil Chaudhary, they are one of the exemplary leaders. They were not of the majority people, but they were from the minority. And I can name many more. They have really done a lot for Pakistan. And everyone is living in this country has a very big love with this country, because we remember the history. We read the history that at the time of partition, particularly the Dalit community were asked to stay back in a new country. The reason being they were asked because they would feel much more atrocities and discrimination where they are planning to go. And based on this simple promise from our leader, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, they decided to stay back in Pakistan. Therefore, there are more than 80% of the population, even today in Pakistan, among Hindu minorities, though they are legally in the framework of a Hindu. I think that is the message to our Pakistan government, to our legislator, to our well-wishers, that promises got us to stay and love this country and be with this country. However, we have been, the whole society, particularly the worker society, the working class, be it Masi, be it Hindu scheduled caste, they were left at the remote, the far away from the development, far away from the legislation, far away from the parliament, far away from the education, far away from the health facilities, far away from the power even. Even today, if you really pick up the segment of the power people, you will hardly find any person from these communities to be at the central core. So I think that is the deviation from the promises that our leaders made for these communities. And of course, they were Jogendranath Mandal, and there were a constitutional availability of quota system for the 6% for the scheduled caste. It was eroded, it was given up, and they were again pushed back, to the bottom. I think we have to revisit our leaders' promises. We have to look back what our leader said, and we have to look back what these societies is passing through. Are they really those societies for which we promised constitutional rights? Are these societies living in a condition? Did we promise those conditions which they are living? If you go to the Karachi, start beginning from Saurabh Ghat to Tal Plaza, you will see both the sides of the road. There was a juggies and hundreds of them. Who are they? And they are all displaced Dalit community. They are beggars, they are prostitutes, they are pushcart people, they have no choice, they are road cleaners, they are sewerage cleaners, and what they can find, they have no right to go to the schools. I think and I have been fighting for this. Until these 80% population from the minority, be it Masi, be the Hindu scheduled caste, if they don't have right to wake up, if they don't have right of housing, if they don't have right of buy a piece of land, or if they don't have right to get facilities of housing, of education, of health from the present or future governments, I think we will be certainly losing our major segment of the society. They may be converting, they may be running away, they may be destroying themselves, they may be creating a poverty issue. They will be the segment where, reflecting more poverty and more bad name for the governments in the future. So I think we have a right time to go back to the legislative assemblies, ask them, who are they? Identify those people in the census, identify those people for the projects, identify those people as a center of the development, identify those people for the settlement of their housing, identify those people for the piece of land where they can, earn their livelihood, identify those people, they can be a good citizens, where there's no any girl and boy and a scavenger or picking up the garbage from the, dirty streets of the cities or even in the towns. There are no more dirty people who are not part of the technology, not part of the new world, but they are still working on the brick kilns, picking up the mud. Whether in the countries I have seen, all these things are being done through these machines or a technology where these people are operators, not the laborers. So I think the Pakistan government have to identify those pockets, identify those communities to bring them back to the mainstream. And mainstream can only be ensured when they have all these facilities, all these kind of support, and they are not discriminated in all these spheres of economics, all these spheres of the politics, all these spheres of the other things. Even in Pakistan, we have a huge corporate sector. They earn billions, they pay billions of the taxes. And if you go into these in a dig down deep, we don't have these peoples as beneficiary or employees of these corporations. Why? Are they not the hard worker? Are they not the true citizens? Do they do not have what are the skills? Or they cannot be trained? I think those are the questions which I can put forward to my government, to my people who are in the spheres of the power. They can look back. If they don't, they will miss the day. As history goes on, their kids will be changing, their girls will be forced to convert, and they will be left with the stigma of a bad country for the minorities. And I personally, being minority and the Dalit right person, I want my country to be out of these bad stigmas, bad names in the international community. Thank you very much, Heman.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sono, for this powerful message, and of course, reflecting into our history of and the roots, and of course, the love for the Pakistan. As we wrap up, I just wanted to say that reclaiming identity is not one day event. It's not just about the August 11th. It's about what we do every single day to make Pakistan a better place. To Sharjeel, to Ms. Bhagwani, to Mr. Dr. Sonu, thank you very much for sharing your stories and your wisdom with us. And to everyone watching, let's move forward with the courage to reclaim the strength to resist and the vision to create a Pakistan where everyone belongs, no matter where you come from, what's your skin color, what caste or religion you belong to. Thank you very much for joining us, and let's keep this conversation alive beyond, this just Zoom classroom. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you.